He introduced me to his study group as my roommate. I was his wife. I was the reason he could afford to be in that room. 7 people around a kitchen table covered in engineering textbooks. Marcus gestured toward me with a half wave, like I was the neighbor who wandered in. This is Lisa, my roommate. No stumble. No glance to check if I'd flinch. I didn't. I smiled, set down the tray of food I'd made between my double shift, and walked back to the bedroom. Both kids were asleep in one bed, because we'd converted the second room into his study. That was the first time I understood something was wrong. Not because of evidence. Because of grammar. Let me back up. At 11:42 every night, I clocked in at Harmon's Seafood Processing on Route 9. The floor was wet concrete. Always cold, even in August. Salt worked into every crack in my hands until the skin split in thin lines. That wouldn't heal, because they never fully dried. My gloves were supposed to help. They trapped the brine against the cuts, so it burned slower, longer. This was temporary. His engineering degree was our way out, both of us, together, plus our 2 kids. Who deserved a house that didn't smell like mildew and fish guts when I came home at dawn? Marcus studied in the warm apartment I paid for. He ate meals I prepped on Sundays. He slept full nights, while I drove 26 minutes each way in a car that needed a new alternator. I couldn't afford to fix yet. This wasn't sacrifice. This was partnership. I handled nights, daycare logistics, grocery math, electric bills, and the emotional weight of 2 children who missed their mom at bedtime. He handled school, fair trade. 60% of working mothers say balancing work and family is difficult. I read that once and thought, yes, but at least those women still have someone on the other side of the scale. I wasn't counting. I was just surviving, and I called it love. I stopped correcting him when he called my paycheck temporary. The roommate moment lived in my chest for days. Not as anger. As something heavier, a dull pressure behind my sternum that showed up every time he mentioned his classmates. Then the small things started stacking. New cologne. Not expensive, but deliberate. Something woodsy that didn't match the Marcus who used to grab whatever was on sale at CV's. His phone screen tilted away from me when he texted. Just 15 degrees. Just enough. Tuesday and Thursday group projects that ran until midnight. Even though I knew the engineering building closed at 10, I didn't confront him. What would I say? Why do you smell different? That's not a question. That's a flare gun, and I wasn't ready to see what it lit up. So I watched. 78% of mothers say they carry more of the schedule management than their partner does. I was already doing that. What I started managing now was information, mental notes, timestamps, patterns. Not because I had a plan, because watching was the only thing that kept me from falling apart on the packing line at 3 a.m. One night I came home before sunrise. Hands raw, tape still wrapped around my knuckles from where the conveyor guard caught my wrist. Marcus was asleep at the kitchen table, cheek pressed against a highlighted thermodynamics chapter. And for a moment, he looked like the man I married. The one who said we'd build something. But his phone was face down on the table. He never used to do that. I stood there, wet jacket dripping onto linoleum, and a thought landed clean and quiet. I am funding a future that may no longer include me. The betrayal didn't start with another woman's body. It started with language. Roommate. It started with a man editing me out of his story while I was still writing the checks. I want to tell you I did something dramatic. Grabbed the phone, threw it against the wall, screamed until the kids woke up. I didn't. I peeled off my gloves. Ran my hands under warm water until the sting faded to a hum. Then I went to check on my children. My daughter had kicked her blanket off. My son was curled tight against the wall, thumb near his mouth, a habit he'd almost broken. Whatever was coming, it would come on my terms, not his. If you've ever stood in your own kitchen feeling like a stranger in a life you built with your own hands, tell me where you're watching from, because this next part is where everything I suspected became something I couldn't unsee. He kissed my forehead the next morning. You worry too much, he said, half laughing, like I was being silly, like I was being small. His phone buzzed on the counter between us. A name I didn't recognize. A heart emoji I definitely did. He called me roommate to his friends, partner to the bank, and nothing at all to himself. And I had been too busy surviving to notice the order of those words. He disappeared with her on a Thursday. No argument, no slammed doors. No final scene where I could throw something and call it closure. I came home to a closet with hangers swinging in the dark, our joint account stripped down to $112, and a note lying flat on the kitchen island like a receipt. I need space to figure things out. We grew apart. I'm sorry. We grew apart. Like pollen. Like rain. Like this happened to both of us by accident. I read that line with fish brine still dried into the cracks of my knuckles from my 3 a.m. shift, and I could taste metal at the back of my throat because I knew exactly what that sentence was trying to do. Erase intent. The messages I found later said what his note refused to say. Her name was Vanessa. Same cohort, same classes, same late study sessions he swore were mandatory. Their texts stretched back 7 months. 7 months of him kissing my forehead and telling me I was overthinking. While he had already packed his way out of my life in private, he left Thursday. Friday I clocked in anyway, because rent does not pause for heartbreak, and the processing plant definitely doesn't. By Saturday morning, I was kneeling by 2 tiny backpacks, trying to explain absence to a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old without using words that would break them open. My daughter looked up at me with one sock on and asked, "Will Daddy be back before my school play?" My son stared at the floorboards and said nothing at all. Not that day. Not the day after. 3 full days, my boy moved through the apartment like a ghost with his own face. People talk about grief like it arrives with soft blankets and time off. It doesn't. Grief needs someone else to hold the frame while you collapse, and there was no one holding anything for me. They say 60% of working mothers say balancing work and family is difficult. I remember hearing stats like that and thinking, at least those numbers still assume a partner exists somewhere in the equation. I had a night shift, 2 children, and $112. So I moved. Lunches packed before sunrise. Hair braided with my eyes half shut. School drop-off, daycare drop-off, bus stop, work floor, home, 3 hours of sleep, then repeat. My body smelled like bleach, fryer oil, and stress sweat for weeks. Rage kept my spine straight when sleep couldn't. Then came 3 weeks of absolute silence from him. No call to ask about the kids. No child support discussion. No address. No explanation. No apology that even pretended to be complete. Just silence. Clean, deliberate, expensive silence from a man who wanted freedom without paying the emotional invoice. Then someone knocked. His mother stood on my porch in a pressed blazer, shoulders squared, holding a manila envelope against her chest like she was bringing hymn sheets. Beside her stood a woman I'd never seen before, heels sharp against my concrete step. "Attorney, we need to discuss the children's living situation," his mother said. "Not can we talk, not are you okay," a statement polished on the drive over. Inside the envelope was a petition for temporary custody, clean legal language, surgical phrasing. Mother works overnight hours incompatible with adequate supervision. Children are frequently placed with non-family caregivers during critical developmental periods. Home lacks consistent parental presence. On paper, every line was technically true. In reality, every line was a knife forged out of my own sacrifice. No one warns you this part can happen. The night shifts that paid his tuition, the schedule that kept food in the fridge while he studied in heat and light, I funded. Those same hours were now Exhibit A in the case against me. Every hour I had worked to keep them fed and warm was now a line in a document arguing I was unfit to keep them at all. His mother wasn't some cartoon villain twirling anything in the dark. That made it worse. She truly believed she was rescuing her grandchildren from instability. In her version, her son had moved on, and I was the debris, exhausted, underpaid, stretched thin, therefore unsafe. She wanted access to the kids through her family's structure, with her family's rules, and she wanted his reputation left spotless while I carried the stain. Concern that arrives with legal paperwork isn't concern at all. It's a weapon wearing the right clothes. It's control in a soft sweater. I had 11 days before the hearing, and Marcus had no idea I'd been building this case since the night he called me his roommate. 11 days to prove that working yourself to the bone for your children is not neglect. So I built my defense the way I had built everything else in that season, after midnight. By myself, with hands that wouldn't stop splitting open from cold water and factory metal. School attendance records. Perfect. Neighbor affidavits confirming consistent, safe childcare. Pediatric logs with every vaccine, every checkup, every appointment, scheduled by me, attended by me. Pay stubs. Shift reports. A supervisor letter stating I hadn't missed one shift in 2 years. At the public library copier, I flattened my palms on the glass to steady a stack of papers, and a thin red smear from a cracked fingertip marked the lower corner of my custody packet. I saw it, left it there. Marcus was going to see it too, in a courtroom, in front of a judge, with his name on the opposing filing. And nowhere left to edit me out. Let Marcus see what it costs to keep children fed, in writing, under oath, with his mother sitting 3 feet away from every document she never knew existed. The courtroom was too cold, and the walls were that forgettable beige that makes everyone look tired. His mother sat straight-backed, fingers laced, voice trembling at the right moments. She held a tissue through the whole hearing, and never once needed it. Her attorney said best interest of the children 4 times in 6 minutes. When the judge looked at me, I didn't perform pain. I handed over the folder. Dates, times, names, documentation. The judge scanned the attendance sheets, then my stubs, then pediatric records. Eyes moving back and forth, not to stories, to patterns. Temporary custody, denied. I made it through the hallway. I made it down the courthouse steps. I made it to the parking lot before the shaking started. My hands rattled so hard my keys clinked against the car door. It wasn't fear. Fear had already burned off. This was rage after compression, turning dense, turning useful. I never chased him, not once. I took the aluminum trays I used for church potlucks, added prices, and started taking paid weekend orders. 1 referral became 3. 3 became a waiting list. My first serious deposit, $340 for a retirement dinner, hit my account the same morning a landlord warning slid under my door. Both papers sat side by side on my kitchen table while my son slept nearby, curled under a thin blanket, and cupcakes cooled on the counter, with sugar scent thick in the room. By month 6, orders came steadily. By month 9, I had a business name and printed menus on cardstock. People called it recovery. It wasn't. It was engineering. The night my first major invoice cleared, $1,200 for a wedding reception, I sat in my car outside the client's house, forehead resting on the steering wheel, and pulled in one full breath that didn't hurt. Then my phone buzzed. Voicemail. His mother. Her voice was level, pleasant, almost warm. I want you to know, this isn't over. And my daughter got into medical school. My son opened his own shop, custom furniture, handmade joints, work that makes people pause in doorways. 47 employees. 3 commercial kitchens. Contract with city's largest hospital network for patient meal service. 12 years does that. 12 years of refusing collapse builds life so solid you almost forget day. It started as emergency. Catering company did not explode. It accumulated. One wedding became weekly corporate lunch order. Lunch order became referral to nonprofit gala. Gala organizer cornered me afterward, napkin still in hand. You need commercial kitchen, not prayer and hot plate. She co-signed first lease 3 days later. By year 5, I stepped offline and ran it. By year 8, my name went on side of delivery van because my son, 14 then, designed logo himself. Look on his face when I approved made insurance premium worth every cent. My children watched me build, not narrate. Amara graduated summa cum laude in biochemistry. Marcus apprenticed under master carpenter in Vermont for 2 summers, came home with calluses and business plan on graph paper. Their father lived in our home like memory of missing tooth, absence with shape. I never trashed him to them. I did not have to. So when Amara sat across from me Sunday morning, my kitchen, my house, my coffee and favorite mug, hands trembling around hers, I assumed school pressure, residency panic, bad breakup, something solvable. Mom, I need to tell you something about Dad. Refrigerator hummed. Or maybe everything inside me recalibrated at once. She had been meeting him for coffee. 6 months. Every other Saturday near campus. One of those cafes with mismatched chairs and oat milk everywhere. He found her through social media. Message careful, soft. I know I have no right. But I'd like to see you, if you'd let me. Amara is compassionate like surgeon, precise, steady, no wasted motion. She kept it from me because she wanted red on him before bringing me into room. Man, she described barely matched one I married. Thinner, gray at temples. Humility worn like pressed shirt. He arrived 20 minutes early, ordered her drink before she sat, never asked about me. Man who vanished without forwarding address, now waited outside cafes, like patient waiting for name to be called. Then part that tightened chest. He was not only lonely. Stage 4, kidney failure. Dialysis next month. Engineering career had stalled years back. He drifted through contract work and unemployment 3 states away. He's not asking for money, Mom. I set Mug down slow. Then what is he asking for? Amara looked at table. He had daughter. 3 years old. Child with woman he left us for. The name that used to light his phone with heart emoji in my kitchen. She left him 2 years ago, when diagnosis landed, and checks dried up. Now little girl needed care. He asked Amara. My daughter I raised between night shifts, custody hearings, flour-dusted counters, to help with child born from decision that split our home. Pattern had not ended. It had moved generations. Research says 75% of men who leave spouse for affair partner end up divorced again. Research never tracks next invoice. Women and daughters drafted as support system after collapse. I watched Amara's face. She was not asking permission. She was asking me not to shatter. Tea cooled between us, untouched. Silence climbed room like water in locked house. Quiet, relentless, finding every seam. She held breath. I let moments stretch until I could hear my own pulse settle. What did he ask you to give up? Her lips parted, closed, opened again. He asked me not to tell you yet. Room went still enough to ring. Front door opened. Marcus home early. Groceries in one arm. He looked at sister, then me. Bag slipped. Oranges rolled across tile in uneven arcs. Nobody bent to grab them. Before either of us answered, Amara's phone lit on table between us. Photo. Little girl in hospital waiting room, stuffed bear in her lap, looking straight into camera with eyes I had not seen in 12 years. His eyes. My daughter reached for phone exact moment, my son said. Nobody slept that night. Marcus picked oranges up one by one, careful like gentle movement might reverse evening. Amara stayed across from me, both palms flat on table, shoulders locked, as if wood could absorb impact. I made coffee at midnight, then one. By sunrise, both pots sat cold. At 2 a.m., I set terms. No private meetings. No money transfers hidden inside guilt. No promises made in hospital corridors. No contact with Zuri outside legal framework that protected everyone, including her. Amara nodded each line. Marcus wrote conditions on back of grocery receipt, pen scraping loud and quiet. My son, who runs shops 6 days a week, turned my kitchen table into negotiation table. Not revenge. Load-bearing boundary. I had no interest performing pain for man who already exited story. I needed structure strong enough to hold compassion without drowning house. 3 days later, we invited him over. He arrived 15 minutes early. That told enough. Man I married ran late because other people's time cost him nothing. Crisis taught him clocks. My living room, my couch, my terms. He looked smaller, narrow shoulders, gray temples, hands clasped between knees, like man already hearing diagnosis before doctor speaks. Kidney failure does not negotiate, neither did I. He opened with nostalgia. This place still smells same, he said toward kitchen. Like cinnamon and, we're not doing that, Amara said. Not loud, not sharp. Clean. I watched her cut through script and felt shift under ribs. Not hurt, not pride. Recognition. She learned cadence watching me. Keep voice low, facts straight, hands steady. He moved to urgency. Zuri needed stability. Her mother had left 7 months earlier. Familiar ending. Different names. I'm not asking you for anything, he said, finally meeting my eyes. You're asking my daughter to become mother at 24, I said. To child you had with woman you left me for, that is not nothing. Silence. Marcus leaned forward. She didn't do this to us, he said. Meaning Zuri, only innocent person in room. He was right. Sounded like man I raised. What happened next was not what he prepared for. Amara offered referrals, social services, pediatric support groups, family attorney for guardianship. Practical help, clear limits. Marcus offered supervised Saturday visits at his shop, scheduled around Zuri's comfort. Compassion with edges. He came asking for restoration. He left with folder, business cards, visiting hours. No shouting, no tears, no speech. He stood, thanked us twice, walked out carrying paperwork instead of absolution. Clean justice looked exactly like this. Build life so sound, someone else's collapse cannot fracture it. Weeks moved. School runs, catering orders, invoices, laundry, ordinary life proving continuity. Then Amara forwarded photo with no caption. Zuri sat cross-legged on Marcus's shop floor during supervised Saturday visit, eating lunch from container I knew on site, mine. My catering box. Small logo in corner printed slightly off-center, way first batch always came out when I could not afford better equipment. I designed that logo at 3 a.m. years ago while my babies slept in next room, and I packed orders on borrowed counter with cracked tile and one working burner. I stared long time. Tiny fingers wrapped around packaging that started as survival. That was Reframe, clear as glass. Compassion was never his to requisition and never mine to owe. It was ours to choose, measured, and protected. My children understood before he did. He asked for second chance. He got terms. I got something better than apology. The quiet that arrives when you stop waiting for recognition because proof already moving, carrying your name into rooms you do not need to enter. He thought he came back for rescue. He walked into policy.